Welcome back everybody to BeamNG.drive, and today we're taking a look at the Ibishu Pessima, more specifically the 2 litre LX version, and this was produced between 1996 and 2000, and yeah, it's got 143 horsepower, 140 pounds-feet of torque from a 2 litre double overhead cam inline 4 engine. It weighs 3,097 pounds, and yeah, it can do 0 to 60 in 8.8 seconds, 0 to 124.5 seconds, and going to a top speed of 123 miles an hour. It's got an automatic gearbox, and it is a front-wheel drive, front-engined car. So yeah, I do really rather like this car. I do like the look of it, and yeah, it's one of the more mid-range 90s vehicles. We've either got SUVs or a large American cars on this game from the 90s, so it's nice to have something a bit more mid-range and Japanese. So let's take it round this course and see what it can do in terms of suspension. See how much punishment it can take before it breaks, and then we'll take it on the rollover ramp, crash it into some explosive barrels, and then a cinder block wall before moving on elsewhere. So let's give it some real punishment. So front-wheel drive cars are quite susceptible to a lot of front-end damage, like every other car, but because obviously they're front-wheel drive, that means that more damage can be incurred, because you've got the driven wheels up there, as well as steering and braking, so yeah, they can be susceptible to quite a lot of failure. Quite a lot of heavy damage can cause them a lot of problems. Don't think we've taken too much damage though so far. Yeah, a little bit of the bodywork has moved around, but nothing dramatic. Suspension still seems all in order, which is good to see. Let's take it on the wibble wobble boards, as I like to call them. Whoa. Quite a lot of bounce there. Definitely taking more bodywork damage there. As well as some suspension damage, I imagine. Quite frankly, the fact it's not even lost a bumper yet is a surprise. Now with a front-wheel drive car like this, you are going to get some understeer like this. So you've definitely got to be prepared for that. Oh, lost a hubcap. Right, for the ultimate test now, it's this one. A lot of cars do fail on this. That actually did fairly well. Lost another hubcap, but... and we're not even really pulling anywhere in any direction inadvertently, so yeah, this car's quite tough, as far as front-wheel drive cars go at least. I have lost the radiator now though, and the bumper is holding on by a thread. So this car's going to die from heating if it's not going to die from anything else. The front left wheel does look a little bit wobbly. That sort of the front right. I'm really surprised by how well this is doing. The Miramar was Oh, we've lost the half shaft. I don't know how, but we weren't even doing anything. And we just turned and then it broke. So yeah, that was clearly the weak point there then. The half shaft on the wheels. But yeah, it must have been weakened by going over everything, and then me just violently turning to the left was enough to break it. But yeah, overall that was doing really rather well. It did better than the Miramar, also from Ibishu in the previous episode. So yeah, really surprised by how tough that is. So let's get to the rollover ramp and the other elements to this video that we're going to be dealing with, and then yeah, we'll move on to another map. Yeah, this should do quite well on the rollover because it's quite a modern car, but then it is quite a cylindrical kind of shape as well, so that might well not prove helpful because it might make it roll around even more. So let's see. So as per usual, you've got to survive all 3 rollover tests consecutively, if you can even get up the ramp. As yeah, it's really interesting to see the accumulation of damage. Well, the exhaust doesn't matter. It's not a vital part to the car. Right. Let's see what happens. So yeah, the ride height on this is lower than it actually looks. Oh dear, that front wheel has bent quite severely already. That's quite a lot of roof damage. I was expecting it to be a bit tougher than that. It's doing some spectacular rolls, especially right from the off, which was not the case with the Miramar. I think it took until the second rollover for it to go quite far. Well, it looks like we're going to come back on our wheels, at least. Yes, but we have taken quite a lot of front end damage there. Yeah, one of those wheels is not straight at all. Luckily it still works. Both of them have been severely damaged, as you can see. I'm trying to turn right, and yet one's wanting to go left, one's wanting to go right. They're pointing in both opposite directions, which is yeah, not very useful at all, quite frankly. And again, we are struggling to get on the ramp. Although, weirdly, easier than last time. Right. Second time, so let's see what happens. Oopsie daisy. Will it survive this second go? Doesn't look like it's going to roll as much as last time for some reason. Or maybe it will. Ooh, another heavy impact on the front wheel there. That is really not helpful. I don't think we rolled as far as last time. Or maybe we rolled as much as last time because of the wheel marks. So yeah, again, the wheels at the front have taken a hell of a lot of damage. It's now juddering quite a fair bit. Certainly not a car that is roadworthy anymore, but it is still moving, so that's all we really care about. It's going to make it extremely difficult to get on. Oh, actually, even easier than the first time. How's that possible? It's more difficult to go on it when it's in good nick rather than when it's completely damaged. The radiator is now leaking though. There goes the exhaust finally. And I think we've lost a wheel. It's quite wobbly. sure there was a mod that allowed you to do this kind of thing that we're doing here, but in case obviously if the car gets too damaged that it's not able to roll over anymore or drive, that it lets you to just put the car in its current state back onto the ramp to do it again. I think that would be quite cool. But yeah, there we go. That's the third go. Turn the engine off just so it doesn't die out of oil starvation. Right. The car itself, in terms of damage, has, failed. The roof has come right the way down. It's right near where the driver's head would be. Maybe not quite as severe as the camera is making it out to be, but it is still right the way down. If obviously you're taller than the headrest itself, then yeah, you're going to suffer head damage there. But let's see if the car moves. It does, just. But it's extremely difficult to control because it's not got any predictable line of travel, and that front right wheel is completely coming off by the looks of it. Yeah, it doesn't even turn, that front right wheel. You only have steering from the front left, and even then that is not all that great, especially turning left. So yeah, well there we go, that's killed it. But yeah, that's not a pass unfortunately. So let's see what happens when we go into the crash hard barrels. Hopefully we'll get up to 60. Indeed we do. So let's see if this can survive a couple of explosions. Oh. Heavy amount of damage on the front there. Didn't come down on our roof though, thankfully. But we have lost a wheel at the front, so therefore this guy's not going to be driving anywhere. But even though it's not going to be driving anywhere, I think in terms of safety it's actually given it a pass. So I think for the first time I'm going to give this give a car half a point. So it's got 1 point for the suspension area because it survived quite well there. And yeah, now it's got half a point for the explosive barrel. So it's on 1.5 out of 3 at the moment. So it's halfway in terms of points. So not awful, but yeah, those front wheels were all but guaranteed to be destroyed in an explosive test when you're hitting them front on. So yeah, but the rest of the car dealt with it really rather well. So let's see how it does with the cinder block wall. Now, very few cars have actually failed at this, so let's see if this is more like that. Oh, that's successful. All of the damage has been contained to the front of the car. Well, weirdly, we lost a rear hubcap, despite that not taking much damage. Yeah, that's a pass there. So yeah, 2.5 out of 4 isn't a particularly great score, but it's far from the worst that we've had. So let's get to the crash hall and see how this deals with 30, 40 and 60 mile an hour small overlap crashes. So here we are at the crash test hall, and this test is quite punishing on a lot of vehicles. Most vehicles have failed at 60 miles an hour, and even some have failed at 40. So yeah, let's see if this is going to be a bit different. Most cars have passed the 30 mile an hour impact test, so I shouldn't expect this to be any different. I wouldn't expect this to be any different. Because yeah, this is more ordinary kind of speeds. Most crashes do happen at these kind of low impacts speeds, so let's see if that's the case here. Yep, that's fine. Obviously it's taken quite a fair bit of damage up front, which is to be expected, but the important parts, the parts where you or I would be sitting, are well protected. The door hasn't moved, the roof hasn't moved at all, and yeah, the car overall has taken the impact and not those inside. So yeah, fairly impressed by that, although the fact that the half shaft is broken at that kind of impact is a bit concerning in terms of overall durability. But yeah, 30 mile an hour, resounding pass there, so let's see what happens at 40. Well, there was some flexing there with the door, and a little bit with the roof. You can see, if I stop the car, that around the midpoint of the roof where the front door and the middle door, the back door meet, there is some bending down and up, which is a bit of a concern, especially when we're going to be going even faster in a minute. But yeah, overall that is a pass. Again, heavy amount of damage at the front, which is to be expected, but crucially the interior has not been intruded. So yeah, let's see what happens at the magical 60 miles an hour, which most cars, like I've said, have failed. As it is quite a heavy impact that most cars wouldn't actually survive anyway, but it is interesting to see what happens at such a high rate of speed. So let's find out. Oh, yeah, that is a dramatic difference between 40 and 60 miles an hour there. The elements that happened ever so slightly at 40 mile an hour have been accentuated in this 60 mile an hour impact. Because like I said, at 40 the roof started to bend a little bit and the door bowed out a little bit. But now at 60 the door's completely bowed out, the roof is completely caved upwards. And yeah, also the steering wheel has come towards the driver, and yeah, we are not in good shape there at all. As per usual though, we are not drivable after such an impact, which I guess is no surprise. But yeah, that is a devastating impact there. Maybe not as devastating as some 60 mile an hour impacts, because as you can see there is still quite some distance between the driver and the steering wheel. It's not like the steering wheel is in the seat, which, given this is a 25-year-old car, is fairly impressive. But yeah, still, that, yeah, I'm not really going to be able to convincingly give that a pass. I think I'll give it another half, because even though there's quite a lot of heavy damage, at the end of the day the steering wheel hasn't come straight through to the driver's seat. There would be an airbag, and yeah, I'm convinced that even if someone was to survive it, or even if they got quite a lot of injuries, I think they would still be able to survive that. But yeah, the car certainly has not. So yeah, so it got what, 2.5 points at the grid map, half a point for the explosive barrels, a point for the cinder block wall, and a point for the suspension. And it's gotten 2.5 points here, 30, 40, and then half a point for the 60. So yeah, it's on 5 out of 10 at the moment. So yeah, let's get to the highway and see how it deals with two similar cars at similar weight, 60 miles an hour, and then one that really isn't. So here we are at the highway. So yeah, we're going to go up against the Bruxelles Legrand first, because it's about the same weight as this. It's only 45 pounds heavier, and it's a similar kind of vehicle, front wheel drive, front engined, kind of more of a mid-range economy car. So yeah, let's see what happens when we go up against it at 60 miles an hour. Let's make sure that they are keeping in line, because it's very easy for these cars to spear off and do whatever they want. See what happens. Oh, somehow that killed the game. How, I don't know. You know, yeah, was not expecting that. I do apologise. Right, let's try again. No idea why that happened. That has not happened before. Figured since these are pretty much basic cars in the game, I wouldn't have expected that. Please don't happen again. There we go. So yeah, they perform pretty much the same there, with the roof going up and the doors bowing out, but overall I think they're pretty much the same, pretty much mostly safe. It's verging on the side kind of impact that we saw at the small overlap crash test, although not quite severe. So yeah, I'm going to give the Pessima a pass there. The Legrand did fairly well as well, to be honest, although it's taken a little bit more damage I think in terms of one of the wheels, but yeah, a pass from the Pessima. So yeah, let's see if we can find a vehicle that is slightly lighter, since we just dealt with one that is slightly heavier. And yeah, so we're looking for around £3,097. Nope, ETKs are heavier. What about an 200BX? Nope, significantly lighter. It's very hard to get similar weighted vehicles in this game. What about old versus new Pessima? Any that are significant, close to being as heavy? Yeah, the Pessima 2-litre GTZ, it's £77 lighter, but it's also probably a slightly larger car, I imagine. But yeah, let's see how old Pessima deals with new Pessima. This is quite the sportier car. See what does better, old or new. Oh, again, like the Legrand, pretty much the same. Although it looked like a far more devastating impact. Although I would say the older one looks like it's gotten off worse. Because yeah, the steering wheel has moved forward. Which I guess is no surprise. But not dramatically so. And yeah, we'd have an airbag, whereas I doubt the older Pessima would. It might have, considering the size of the steering wheel, but the size of the steering wheel has moved far more forward than the one on the newer Pessima. And yeah, overall it looks like it's taken slightly less in the way of damage. So yeah, another pass there from the modern Pessima, so that is a surprise. So yeah, let's see how it does with something that is nowhere near as the same kind of weight. See how it deals with a modern front wheel drive car. Pretty sure this is front wheel drive. That's all wheel drive. Isn't there a front wheel drive version of this? Or the all wheel drive? Although to be fair, they're not particularly that much heavier, so we'll go for the electric version, because that is the heaviest version of these. It doesn't matter that it's not front wheel drive. So let's see how an electric modern all wheel drive crossover deals with a more classic car. So obviously this is about 20 odd years older than this. Oh, well, no surprise that the Cherry there has gotten away with that perfectly, but we, on the other hand, have quite not done so. You can definitely tell we've just impacted a far heavier, far more modern car. I mean, this is still drivable. Pretty much, yeah, still drivable. Still steers, just. I mean, that front right wheel has taken a fair bit of damage, but at the end of the day it still kind of moves, whereas this doesn't at all, because as you can see the front wheels have completely been shoved upwards and back, so the chassis and the wheels aren't really doing anything anymore on the ground. And the steering wheel has also moved towards us more so than previous tests. So yeah, I'm going to say that's a fail purely because of how much damage this has taken, how much the steering wheel has moved, and the fact that it's no longer even drivable. So yeah, but on the whole, this car's been pretty good, far better than I was expecting, to be honest, and a nice resounding 7 out of 10 is, yeah, a respectable score, especially given some cars that we've seen on this series that have done far worse, even though they're kind of similar age. So yeah, overall for a relatively lightweight economy car, this has done really rather well. But nonetheless, thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye.